Good morning, Christian joining.
Hey, good morning.
Hello, everybody.
Hello?
Well, let's go ahead and get started. We're a little shorthanded, but I think we've got all the principles to talk about today's agenda. Make sure everyone sound check that you can hear me.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Thanks. So as you recall, 2 weeks ago, we had the demo and presentation about the using Nephio as an alternative deployment tool. I wanted just to poke around what they had, and there's no surprises here. They have two repos that are currently part of the iOS MCM org, SD core operators and SD core packages. They come with, nuts and bolts readmes. There's also quite a bit more sophisticated docs. So developer guide, a troubleshooting guide, a user's guide, and pretty substantial documentation. So what I would propose, and this is now an alternative deployment tool, and so we need to kind of think about that a little bit more generally, but I don't think it's too problematic. What I would propose is we go ahead and host those, and they're not part of the core. They are akin to OnRamp, so we can host them in the Open Networking Lab org, which is effectively the root umbrella, the umbrella Aether org. Let the developers have the permissions they need to keep it up to date. And there's still, there's going to be work required to keep pace with everything else that's going on. So it's not an archived repo at all. And that we link the docs. So just as an example, at the very introduction to Aether docs, it talks about getting started with Aether, and it points you to OnRamp as the, how does it say it? OnRamp is kind of the default thing to do, but we just add some documentation here and saying there are alternatives, link the Nephio alternative, and I'm perfectly happy to link the Charms alternative as well. We should have done that originally, if it's going to continue to be there. So I just wanted to ask as a point of order if that is still going to be accessible. Is it? I don't have the URL on me, but is Canonical going to make that allow that to still be, is it going to still be accessible and worth linking?
Regarding the canonical projects, they are still available. They are currently archived on GitHub, so they're still in the readable state, and they're open source. So if the Aether project wants to reuse some of those things, everything will still be available. It will still be able to be deployed following the documentation. It will not be maintained, however,
Got
and
it.
there will
Got
be
it.
no more fixes.
Okay, so with the appropriate caveats, go ahead and link both the canonical approach and the Nephio approach as alternatives, and not try to further document because they've got their own documentation. So just back to where we were. That is, I think, roughly summarizing what my proposal is, and see if there's any comment on that, and or if we can agree to that or not. So just open the floor for discussion there.
My side, I would advise against linking towards the canonical stuff, seeing that it will be unmaintained. So for now, it will still work, but it will probably bit rot for a
Yeah,
bit.
so thanks. I would be very careful to say no longer maintained, but in case you wanted to pick it up and run with it, there's this other alternative or something to that effect.
Okay. Yeah.
If that's okay.
Yeah, there's no problem linking to it, but I would be careful
Yeah.
in how we communicate that to users
Yeah,
to not point them to use something that's not maintained.
Good. Yes, I would definitely be careful with that.
Now, Larry, for example, we as Ether, we are primarily maintaining a on-ramp, right? So what happens when users start using the Nephew solution and they run into problems? Who is going to take care of kind of like helping them?
Yeah, good question. Does that put responsibility on us? And it's not unlike the issue of the canonical solution no longer being maintained. There's got to be a very clear statement of support, and we're linking an outside project that uses the core. You may want to know about it.
Yeah, but if you basically you're hosting
Yeah.
So you're hosting on Ether, so basically you're taking responsibility of maintaining it, right? Or what is the plan?
No, I wouldn't. I don't think it implies that, and we'd have to be very clear that it does not imply that.
Then when users start, you are promoting iOS MCN. If users start facing issues, who is gonna be helping on addressing
Okay,
those
so
issues?
let's suppose we did it differently. Just suppose, for the sake of argument, we said there are other efforts out there. Here's a link to them. We can't vouch for them in any way, but you may want to know about them. But we don't host the repos. Does that?
I actually I was going towards different completely direction. Or my question was going to like say that why do you have to maintain two different kind of ways to deploy the same thing? So why not just picking the best option and go with that? So we don't take care of, or we don't worry of maintaining different solutions depending on what the user wants to use in this case.
I don't see it as an implication of responsibility.
Okay.
We're just saying there are other ways to do this. I mean, some people still use Ether in a box, and for that matter, you could directly use Kubernetes. These are all ways to deploy Ether.
Right, but for the case of Ether in a box, we are clearly stating that it is deprecated and nobody's maintaining it, right? So,
and there would be a similar statement that says other parties have brought this and made this available. We don't vouch for it, but here are the links.
oh, okay, sure.
Now, there's a second thing here, which then is, does hosting the repos make a difference? And I honestly don't know. I don't have a good argument as to why we would have to host the repos. They already exist on GitHub. It seems to be a matter of whether they're public or not. I
Right.
think maybe there's two things. One, they're currently not public, but they could be made public. And the second thing is perhaps the iOS group views this as a way of contributing to Ether that they want visibility for. I can't speak to that for sure.
Well,
I guess to
two,
your point that it has an implication if we host the repo.
right, two comments. I mean, at least from my perspective, I may be mistaken, but hosting the repos means that you are responsible for them. So that's basically my first comment. The second comment, I mean, from the iOS team, I mean, they are already contributing to some kind of changes on the SD core. So they have a set of PRs open. Actually, I added a bullet point about that later in the SD core section. So it's not necessarily like they need some credit or something like that, but because they are contributing to the core. Um,
Okay, so proposal 2 is link to docs with appropriate caveats. And have iOS make their repos public. And likewise canonical, but I'm kind of focused on so this I would take this back to them as what the TST approved if that's where we come down. And I certainly appreciate the point that it implies something. What does everyone else think?
Well, iOS says something about that they would support the work, implying that they had some funding. I don't know what the timeline looked like. So, it sounds like the main concern is whether there's an implication of some kind of support in the hosting.
Yeah, and Gabriel's argument, which I find I'm sympathetic to, is the fact that it's on our webpage, or I'm sorry, it's part of our organization, and it has some implication that it's officially blessed as a supported part of it. And I mean, for right off the bat, they're at least one minor release behind on the core. So it's not going to keep pace at the same way we're used to keeping everything else in sync. It's definitely going to trail.
Yeah, maybe there needs to be some more explicit agreement about, quote unquote, support or staying in sync, staying current, and staying in the, in the CI/CD tooling somehow, in order to host it. Otherwise, they should really, host it themselves or just make their current repos public. Maybe that's
yeah. We didn't really have this discussion with them, but they granted me access to the repos. They're private, but I now have access just so that I could look at it. But I don't understand why it couldn't have been made. Let me go back up to here. Yeah, it's private. I saw the little lock on it. Right, so that's the core operator is private. I don't know any reason why that couldn't be made public. It looks like everything in here is private. All right, so for this, even if we were to come back down and agree to proposal 1, I think we need to clear the air a little bit as to why they couldn't just make this public and have us point to them with the appropriate caveats. And the subtext to that is we're concerned about implications as to who supports. And as a very practical matter, I am quite certain someone would give it a try and they'd post their complaints about why it didn't work to one of the Ether channels, and we'd be sitting there going, well, we don't know. People ask for help and they expect answers, and we wouldn't necessarily be able to give it to them.
It's almost as if any components that are kind of quote unquote part of Ether should be there should be somebody who owns or represents it on the TST.
It almost, that would be helpful.
And maybe that's kind of the bar. Like if they want to step up to that level and participate here bi-weekly and kind of own responding to those requests that come in on the channels, maybe we're open to it. But if they just want to drop it and disappear, that doesn't make so much sense.
Yeah. All right. So the concern is about support, if included with our repos. Okay, got it. I think we resolved it for today. Let's jump ahead to does anyone else want to weigh in on that before we go on? Okay, let's go to the core. Gabriel, most of these I suspect are yours.
Yes. Yeah, so with the help of the Canonical team, we completed the migration of the communication between the NFs and the web UI, moving from gRPC to REST-based communications. And after the whole thing was completed, we released a Helm charts 3.0.0, and that is already integrated with OnRamp. They are already being used in OnRamp. There is an issue that you mentioned in the on-ramp side, but probably later I want to touch on the app side. So that's one part. So as part of this whole effort, also the Canonical team enabled these end-to-end tests to have this automatic testing of the different NFs when somebody opens a PR. Basically, there is this GitHub action that takes care of creating a new image and release it or deploy it as part of OnRamp and run an end-to-end test. So the whole validation happens as part of the PR itself. We have been seeing there is a couple issues with the AMF and with the SMF. So these issues, of course, these are just related to the end-to-end testing from the GitHub action perspective. So locally, everything works fine. So there is no issues on that, but it seems either there is some type of timing or some type of issues that arise because of removing the image and redeploying it again. So we are investigating that part, those kind of two issues. Again, this has no relation with the changes that have been done so far, but however, I have been finding a couple issues regarding nil pointers and things like that. So that's something that we start addressing yesterday, and I just started helping me approving some of those changes. What else? Yeah, so that's now. Regarding the end-to-end tests, again, we Canonical team help us adding for all the NFs. We still have missing the end-to-end test for the UPF because the UPF works in a different way, so it needs a little bit more different changes. And then also the web UI, I believe, doesn't have end-to-end tests, but that could be pretty straightforward to kind of complete. The other part is the iOS MCM team had opened a set of PRs. I think they opened those PRs like a month ago. Is to enable support of multi-DNN for the SD core. When they opened those PRs were outdated already, so they were not aligned with the latest code base. But since we were also through the transition from gRPC to the REST, we asked them to kind of wait. We're not going to review those PRs until the whole migration is completed. So migration is completed now. So we contact them, let them know that to ask them to revise the PRs based on the latest code, and they said they're gonna work on that. Yeah. So and then basically, overall, the code base for this code is mostly up to date. There is only kind of like two sets of PRs that are open. It's around like 9 PRs, which I believe six of them are related to the multi-DNN support. And the other ones are one for end-to-end testing for the UPF, and then another PR for the migration of MongoDB and Kafka to the latest version. But that's still as a draft because I am having issues with the Kafka deployment. But pretty much we are up to date, and Suresh is kind of helping us on addressing a few issues that people have been reporting lastly, and we are kind of trying to get all that backlog of issues. It's kind of trying to address, and he started already last week addressing some issues, and the user kind of presented or reported regarding the UPF, and the user reported that the issue is not there anymore, so we kind of submit the fix, and that's also part of the latest code base. Yeah, I think that's what we have from the SD Corp side.
Good. Sounds all good. Anyone else have anything to add?
Yeah, I don't know whether Houston or...
So I think we've now technically hit the end of the canonical involvement. Is that, I forget what the date was.
Yes, actually, the team stopped existing in Canonical as of Friday last week.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So now everyone is assigned to new teams. This is the last TST meeting for myself. I just wanted to make sure that we closed off everything properly.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So one, I mean, semi-related was with the latest PR that was accepted. It works with all of on-ramp, all of the all the blueprints work except those that involved AMP. And that's being investigated. And just sort of FYI, we do not run all the integration tests before accepting, like in this case, an upgrade to 3.0. Trusting that it's been tested against quick start and a few straightforward tests, but then once the PR has been accepted, it becomes part of the nightly integrations. The AMP related ones fail. There's that also affects multi-UPF, which depends on AMP. But because of the way that works, there's always a stable version we can refer back to. So anyone that wants to use the most recent stable, it's still there, tagged. Is there any? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, regarding the app, so Suresh is gonna try to take a look into that, but also I was gonna contacting Sean to see if he has some time to help us with this, so Suresh can concentrate on the backlog that we have for the other issues on this.
So yeah, Sean, speak for himself. The high level bullet here is, as a consequence of these web console changes, you do know that you had to make changes to SimApp, and therefore there are probably comparable changes that need to be made to Rock.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's probably best if we just do a one-on-one like you suggested, Gabriel, and we can talk through them.
Perfect.
And yeah, I saw the change on the core side, so yeah, it looks pretty minimal.
Yes. Yeah, the only thing that is kind of required, basically, you know, if it is not there, the web UI is crashing. So we have an alternative, you know, to kind of somehow give it the default values such that we avoid the crashing. But that's something that also the Suresh is kind of taking a closer look into that. Because at least from how the way that the new REST base is working, it assumes the information or that missing information is already there. And also it seems like the rock does send that information to the web UI, but somewhere in between, it seems like that information is getting lost. Yeah, because I was looking into the JSON files that are being loaded to the rock, and the information seems to be there. And that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out, why that information doesn't get into the web UI itself. Yeah, so since you have way much more experience with the rock, I said probably it's gonna be something kind of easier for you to take a quick look and see whether there is a quick fix on that side, or what is missing, or what needs to be done on that. But to me, it seems like the information is already being passed.
I'll ping you on Teams in the Intel system
Thanks.
after this meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, just
Thanks, Larry.
FYI, if you go to Jenkins, you'll find the two AMP tests, the same test, but just run on 2204 and 2404. And then the multi UPF, which in Rock is intimately involved in bringing up the second UPF, are the ones that are failing. And you can take a look at the all the logs and so on, if that's helpful.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can go over that part. So I mean, to me, the issue is exactly the same. When I was over the weekend, when I was kind of looking into the Jenkins job, I kind of like, it seems to be the same issue that we were seeing on the web UI without the changes on the CMAP. So it's basically something that is expected from the web UI, and it seems the rock does send that information, but I'm not quite sure. I didn't follow the whole trace to see why that information is not getting passed to the web UI.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. Is there anything else that did not make it onto the agenda? All right, if not, thanks everybody, and see you again next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Oh, and except we won't see you again next time. Goodbye.
Yeah. Goodbye, Island.
Bye.